shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Behave yourselves!
Hello, YouTubers out there. This is Jerry Saravia at the movies. So, for the past 2 nights, I subscribed to Apple TV for a free trial because I had to see Rebecca Miller's documentary on Martin Scorsese. It's called Mr. Scorsese. And there are 5 different episodes, each one roughly about an hour each. So it's about a 5-hour plus film. I just finished watching it, the last part, and I got so emotional that it took me a while to start this video. I'm still a little bit emotional, which I didn't expect. I didn't expect to get so emotional. Because this man, Martin Scorsese, to me, I don't say this lightly, he is the best American film director we've got. I mean, period. That's it. I connect more to his films than almost any other director. And it's not even, I mean, we could go through a roster of the films that he has done between Goodfellas and Casino and Taxi Driver, Killers of the Flower Moon and Shutter Island and Gangs of New York and Italian American and Mean Streets and Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore and New York, New York, Raging Bull, King of Comedy, After Hours, The Last Temptation of Christ, The Color of Money. It is amazing. I mean, we are in the year 2025, and I really started looking at the work of Martin Scorsese almost 40 years ago. The last time I got this emotional was the passing of David Lynch, which really came as a shock to me. And that's also a director who I have watched his films repeatedly and they've been so ingrained. It's kind of like, you know what? Somebody said I did a fan film trailer that I thought was a more appropriate trailer for Bringing Out the Dead a number of years ago. And there was somebody who responded who was an ambulance driver or paramedic. And he wrote a comment and he said, I wasn't really sure about this movie the first time I saw it, but now it's part of my DNA. And Martin Scorsese and David Lynch and a few other directors, but especially those two, have been part of my DNA. And when a director's work means that much to you, to see a documentary like this, I've seen a lot of documentaries on Scorsese. Actually, I don't think there are really a whole lot out there. I could be wrong, but I don't think there are that many. This is the definitive documentary. This will be the best documentary ever made about this man. Period. Nobody is going to be able to do anything better than this film. Nobody. So, props to Rebecca Miller, who happens to be married to Daniel Day-Lewis, and whose father, if I'm not mistaken, was Arthur Miller. She has quite a lineage. But she is phenomenal director, asks the right questions. And this movie covers everything from Martin Scorsese growing up in Corona, Queens, and then the family getting thrown out, and then they ended up in Elizabeth Street, to the making of his films, from Who's That Knocking at My Door and his early short films, including The Big Shave, to being an altar boy, to, you're seeing the unfolding of a life. And I was aware of many of these things already. Most Scorsese fans will watch this, and none of this will seem really strange or different. It's stuff you've read. If you've read about Scorsese, and I've read many books as well on Scorsese, including Scorsese on Scorsese, which I really highly recommend. That's a great book. But you are seeing the overview of a life in the same way that you saw a real overview of Frank Sheeran's life in The Irishman. That's really what this film reminded me of. It was this overview. And Scorsese is very honest. Rebecca Miller asks the questions. And the one that I kind of forgotten about was John Hinckley, who wrote a letter to Scorsese. I kind of forgotten about this, and he's the one that, of course, attempted to assassinate Ronald Reagan, inspired by the film Taxi Driver. And he said, if Jodie Foster wins an Oscar or something to that degree for Taxi Driver, so I guess the letter goes back a little while back, you will suffer the consequences, something like that, for what you've done to her. Because, you know, she played a 16 or 13-year-old prostitute. You wouldn't see that happening today. I don't think anybody would cast an actress. But Jodie Foster was the thing. And anyway, you know, those were things. But most of the film also deals with, I mean, part of it deals also with his marriages, how they failed. They talk to many of the women who married Scorsese, including Weintraub. You've got Isabella Rossellini, who he was married to very briefly, and now, of course, Helen Morris, who suffers from Parkinson's. And they show a couple of clips of her sitting there, and she's so immobile, trying to get words out, and he's there to be with her. He doesn't treat her differently than I guess he would have if, first of all, the cameras weren't present, but secondly, when she wasn't going through this. And so it's heartbreaking. But it is really the overview of this man that really got me, because I've read books about him and everything else and seen all his work, all his films. I think there's only one I still have to see, which is his Rolling Thunder film. I haven't seen that yet. I don't know what's putting me, you know. And I've reviewed most of his films. Not on this channel so much, but definitely on my website. But it's an amazing, revelatory, riveting overview. I can't put it in any better words than that. And it really affected me. It got to me. In ways in which anything else that I've seen on Scorsese, just the man and the films, didn't. I mean, I never felt like this before. So, and maybe too, it was just knowing how many years it's been since I've really looked at his work. And it's just amazing. This is amazing. This is essential. Even if you don't like Martin Scorsese or you don't like his films much, watch this documentary, because many people, critics included, and average people who have seen his films initially, some were dismissive. And then later on, they might look at him again and see something they miss completely and then really admire them, at the very least. So, if you're a Scorsese fan, a hyper Scorsese fan like I am, watch this documentary. Subscribe to Apple, even if it's just a 7-day free trial, which is probably all I'm going to do. I mean, you know, I can only have so many streaming channels I pay for, but it is absolutely worth checking out. Whether you're a Scorsese fan, a movie buff, a film fan, or you're not a Scorsese fan at all, or don't even like Mr. Scorsese's pictures at all, check out this documentary. It will be a revelation for anyone who is interested in filmmaking, who is interested in the art of filmmaking, who is interested in films in general. Because here's the thing. For the latter part of the 20th century, since a lot of these guys, Spielberg and John Milius and Francis Ford Coppola, when they came into the scene, many of these guys you have to look at if you're interested in the latter part of the 20th century of filmmaking. But especially Martin Scorsese. Because, like it or not, his films, they feel like life. It was one of those quotes he had from way back. It was Martin Scorsese Directs, which was a PBS documentary back in 1989. And he said, and I quote, "Films aren't films to me. They are life." And what's amazing about this documentary is that it feels like life in ways in which I haven't seen too many documentaries like this, particularly on a film director, let's just say, for the sake of argument. The only thing I kind of missed from this documentary is I wished that Rebecca Miller explored the emotional states of the characters, how we feel. I mean, it's sort of mentioned, but it's not expanded upon as a question to Scorsese. We feel what the characters feel, their emotional states and their moods. That's why many of his films are not very accessible, because a lot of people don't want to really feel the way some of these characters feel in these films. In particular, you could have asked about the paranoia of Henry Hill from Goodfellas, the lethargy especially, of Frank Pierce, the ambulance driver played by Nicolas Cage in Bringing Out the Dead, because it really is communicated. And for all the characters in a sort of a group effort, the loss of a kingdom that they never really deserved in Casino. The mob loses it, and we feel that loss. We feel it. It's tremendous. And you really feel it, not just intellectually, but in terms of mood and emotion. You feel it. And I wish they had asked questions about that. It's a part of Martin Scorsese's work that I think is unjustly ignored, because his films, everyone sort of feels a certain way. And that's the whole point. I remember one film critic, I'll leave it with this, from Newsweek, I think it was, around the time Casino came out. And he says, after you see a Scorsese picture, you feel punch drunk. Something to that effect. And, and also remember, Scorsese even said about Bringing Out the Dead, he says, we have to feel it like in our solar plexus. But it's also up here how we feel it. Not intellectually necessarily, although that's part of it, emotionally. And that's what he can do so well, because his films are so subjective. So anyway, but I have no criticisms about this documentary. I certainly hope it will go up for Oscars. It probably won't, because it's not been released in theaters, but it's only on Apple TV. But this is essential viewing. Again, doesn't matter if you're a fan of Scorsese or not, or you're a fan of films or not, watch this documentary. It is riveting. It is absolutely riveting, and it doesn't feel like 5 hours. It's amazing. And you want to also go back and watch portions of it again. I mean, you could watch the whole entire thing again. It's amazing stuff. So check out Mr. Scorsese, and I'm glad I didn't get too emotional while discussing it, because I got very emotional prior to doing this video. So check it out. Mr. Scorsese. Watch it, please. This is essential for anyone interested in films. And even if you're not, you will be riveted. Even if you don't know anything about this man, check it out. So there you go. Anyway, so that's all I got to say about that. If you are new to this channel, and please subscribe. It will help with the algorithms. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you. And, I haven't posted as much lately in the last 3 weeks, but I'm trying to get back into the game, so we'll see. But I had to talk about this. This was just amazing. So check it out. And this is Jerry Saravia at the Movies, signing off.